All right. Hello and welcome everybody to our webinar series, What's New at American Ancestors. I'm Kathleen McKenzie, Education and Programming Manager here at American Ancestors New England Historic Genealogical Society, and I'll be moderating today's webinar. American Ancestors is a nonprofit organization supported by our members and donors. We provide resources and expertise in nearly all aspects of family history, and we're pleased to offer such programming for our members and friends around the world. This program today is brought to you by the Brew Family Learning Center. Today's webinar is presented by Claire Vail, our Vice President for Digital Strategy and Communications. Claire has 20 years of experience as a digital marketing and content strategist for high-profile institutions in higher education, publishing, and media. Before joining NEHGS, she was director of web communications at Tufts University, where she oversaw the implementation of a large-scale website redesign. Claire has a master's degree in journalism from Northeastern University and a second master's in English literature from the University of Delaware, with a concentration in 18th century British and American studies. American Ancestors is a national center for family history, heritage, and culture, and we're actively engaged in the creation of new searchable databases, digitized collections, scholarship, educational programming, and more. We are always working on new projects that share the stories of families and individuals from across the country and around the world. Today, Claire is going to highlight some of these latest happenings here at American Ancestors, and then we'll have time for questions at the end. At any point during the presentation, please feel free to type your questions in the Q&A panel at the bottom of your screen. There's no handout for this presentation, but we are recording this event, and starting tomorrow, you can easily go back and review any of the content from the presentation on our website. So if you missed something during the live session, don't worry, you can always go back and review the presentation later. So without further ado, Claire, I'll go ahead and turn things over to you. I'll stop my screen share here.
Great, thank you, Kathleen. And I will start I think you have to enable me to share.
Okay, let me go ahead and do that.
Welcome, everybody, by the way. Thank you for joining me.
All right, you should be all set now. Perfect.
Okay, great. Can everyone see that?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Fantastic. Okay, great. So thanks everybody for joining me. I hope your summers are going very well so far, and I hope you have a great summer, the rest of the summer ahead. So I do these webinars once a quarter, and I do them fairly informally. They are live demos of the website, so there may be a few hiccups while images and pages load. So please bear with me, and I will try to make it as pleasant as possible for you. So thanks again for joining. We really appreciate all the support that we get from members. And if you are guest members, we hope you become members. But we are grateful to all of you for, for keeping us alive after 177 years of staying around. So I'll start by talking a little bit. This webinar is going to cover what is new on the website since the last webinar, which was March 24th. But in general, I teach you a little bit about how to navigate through the site, how to stay on top of what's new, and just how to avail yourself of the enormous amount of information that is available to you, either as a paying member or just as a guest member. So I'll reiterate a little bit of what Kathleen said and start by talking about who we are. We are the world's oldest and largest genealogical society. I've done a lot of searching around in my decade of experience here at American Ancestors, and I can't find an older genealogical society that is still operating. So if you can, please do let me know, and I'll stop saying that out loud. But we are the second largest nonprofit after Family Search that is dedicated to family history. Been around since 1845. So we've been doing family history research for all that time. We've been publishing cutting edge resources in the field. And really, we've got one of the largest staffs. We have roughly 90 to 100 people at any given point. Half of those are genealogists, researchers, subject matter experts, librarians, archivists, and the rest are administrative. So that's pretty remarkable in this industry. And also to have a public destination where people can visit is fairly remarkable too. You know, Family Search has a library where people can go to, and that's of course in Salt Lake City. And our location is temporarily closed, but we have incredibly exciting plans for what's going to be revealed next summer when we reopen. So I'll talk a little bit more about when you can come visit and what you can expect at the end of this webinar. One thing I want to point out, a lot of people assume because of our official name, which we're incorporated as New England Historic Genealogical Society, that was the name back in 1845, and still is the name, although we use the global brand American Ancestors, which much more accurately reflects the wealth of resources and the scope of resources that we now have on our website. And our new tagline is, as you can see in the middle of this page, a national center for family history, heritage, and culture. So I'll talk a little bit about how we live up to that name. But you know, a lot of people assume because of the old name, and many people still know us as HistGen and other names. We've got a lot of names. When you're around a long time, you get a lot of names. A lot of people assume that we only have New England-centric resources, and that is definitely not the case. It's not the case for databases, for webinars, for courses. We do not scope ourselves just to New England. We're far, far beyond that. We have resources from all over the world, and our staff has expertise in multiple languages and in figuring out how we can help you trace your family history back, no matter where you're from. So I just want to point that out because we still hear that from folks because they just see NEHGS and they think, oh, New England. So that's why we rebranded ourselves as American Ancestors roughly 10 years ago. Okay, so let's dive into what's new. And I am going to take you through the site and I'll be showing you the navigation as we go. So if you have any questions at the end of the webinar on how to find something on the website, I can certainly cover that. Me and my team built this website. This is the second iteration, the second redesign of the site since I've been here in 10 years. And it's certainly the most robust and most extensive, and I think the most beautiful too, but I'm a bit biased there. So let's talk about search. Now, one thing I'll just bounce over to this right-hand side of the site. I am logged into the site. So if you are not logged in, you'll see log in. And whether you are a paying member or a guest member on our website, you're not going to see all the content unless you log in, all the content that is visible to you. So if you're a paying member, you're going to see all the content on this site. If you are a guest member, you're a free member. You're going to see a fair amount of content, but certainly not all the content that a paying member will see. And I'll show you how that plays out. So you can see, I know I'm logged in because it no longer says log in, and I see under my account, I can look at my profile. So that's going to tell me my membership number and contain my address and allow me to make changes to my membership information. I'm also going to see a link to my trees. So for those of you who don't know, we do have a free online tree platform called American Ancestries. So at the bottom level, it's free, and then there are paid plans above that, which give you more functionality. And then finally here I have log out. So that's what you should see as well if you are following along at home, or want to take a look later on. So now I'm going to swing over to the left-hand side and look at the mega menu under search. So this is where most of our members are spending most of their time, is in our search repositories, and we have a variety of places you can search. So when we do surveys, and there's going to be a prompt for another survey at the end of this webinar, we value what you have to say. We all kind of are very excited to read the survey information. So please do take the survey. It means a great deal to us. We pass it around like excited teenagers, and we read every little bit. So and then we actually take action based on what we read in the survey. So it really is informative. So if you go to search, you're going to see if you are a paying member of American Ancestors, you have access to 1.4 billion names through roughly 495, close to 500 databases. So, that is what our members in our surveys tell us that they are purchasing a membership for. There's many, even if you never ever search, there's many other reasons to be a member of this organization. We have many different departments doing many different things. Our education department in particular is churning out lots and lots of valuable information in the form of courses, webinars, lectures, events. So that alone is a reason to be a member. So let me start with search and what's new in our databases. And I am going to go here to search, and you'll see our search form here. So this is one way to come at searching our databases. If you click on the database menu, you're going to see the A to Z list of our 400 plus databases here. So this is one way to come down. If you just want to do a universal search on all data, and you just want to plug in some information here, first name, last name, years, record type, you can certainly do that, and it will search everything we have, all the databases that we have. If you want to, decide which database you want to search, this is one way to do it. So I've already queued up what I want to talk about here, and that is Canadian headstones. So about a year ago, we were approached by Canadian Headstones, which is a nonprofit based in Canada, working to provide access to the cemetery heritage records from many cemeteries across Canada. And they said to us, would you like to work with us to offer your members access to Canadian gravestone images and records? And we said, why not? So we now have this database live. So this database contains an enormous number of names, dates, and cemetery locations. For the images, you link back, or we link back to the original Canadian Headstones website, and that will provide you with the full transcriptions and the images of the headstones. So let me show you a little bit about this database. So if you click here, you can see in this volume the extremely broad list of databases that are, or sorry, cemeteries that are available in this database. So if you are looking for Canadian ancestors, this is a pretty powerful place to search. You can select the actual cemetery that you think your ancestors might be buried in, but you can also search by name. So that's what I've done. I searched on the name James Scott from the image. So if you want to see what that looks like from the very beginning, I'll come down here to Canadian headstones, and all I did here was search James and Scott, and then I landed here on this page. So I just want to show you the kind of the anatomy of what a database search result looks like, because what I'm going to tell you is applicable to all the search results you're going to see. And this is how we've constructed the new search results in this iteration of the database, of the website. So you can see up here, you get volume information. Well, first of all, you get the title at the very top. You get volume information here. You get the page number that you're on. You can submit a comment or question here. So again, this is kind of the ubiquitous structure for all the databases. You're going to see here that you have a list of names that are also on this page. So this is really important, particularly if you're looking at records that contain many, many names within them. So that's quite useful. If you scroll down on any of your search results, you're going to see a description of what the database is. So I always tell people when they're searching, before you get into what's here, which is what most people are looking for, which is the transcript and the image, scroll down and you'll see, you know, a description of the database itself, what kind of information you can expect to see in that database. And then you're going to get a little bit of an update on what's currently online. So, and then you can also at the very bottom see what kind of search tips work in the form for that database. So whether wildcard characters are available in the search fields, but really what, what information was transcribed for that particular database. So here we're looking at Canadian headstones. So I can see here, this is, this is the transcription information. If I want to see the record, I would click here. It's pretty hard to see here that this is a hyperlink, but it does say URL to the image. So I've already called that up in another tab here. That's what this looks like. So if I want to see the photo of James Scott's grave, and then I want to see what's on the Canadian Headstones website, this is how I can do it here. So here I see additional information. And then I can come down here and explore what else Canadian Headstones has to offer. So that is a database that is relatively new to the site. The reason I'm calling it out now is to let you know that new cemeteries have been added since March 24th. So at present, there are records from nearly 300 Canadian cemeteries in this database. And we will be adding additional cemeteries throughout the rest of this year and all of next year until we're complete. So if you do have Canadian ancestors, that is a great database to search. So on to the next database I want to talk about, and we're very excited about this one. You may or may not know that this year, 2023, marks the 250th anniversary of the Boston Tea Party, which they are recreating in December of this year. So if you are a glutton for punishment because of your love of history, you can come shiver with the rest of us on the deck of the ship at the Boston Tea Party Museum and watch reenactors throw tea into the harbor. It actually should be quite exciting. They are planning many, many events throughout the year, not just in December. And I'm going to show you a little bit about what's coming up on their site because we are partnered with them to do something quite exciting. So roughly 200 men, this is all men in this case, all white men, threw tea into the harbor 250 years ago and kicked off the American Revolution. We are doing genealogical work on those men. And that is a new database called the Boston Tea Party Participant Biographies. So if you're familiar with Robert Charles Anderson's work on the Great Migration and the deep, deep, deep research that he did into all those individuals, this is a similar attempt to learn as much as we can about each individual. So if I search this database, let's just put in a last name here. Let's see if there's a Smith here. There's probably an Adams. So here you're going to see results. And let me click into Ephraim Smith. And here we go. You can see that we have the information about the database here. So this is what we call a study project. And as I was talking before about Robert Charles Anderson, this is modeled on our Western Massachusetts Families in 1790 study project, meaning that we take a great deal of time on our end with genealogists to research these individuals, to vet all the information that comes out, and then to provide that to you in a database form. So as I've said, we partnered with the Boston Tea Party Ships and Museum for their programming, and these biographies are available online to our members. They are also available to people who join the Boston Tea Party Descendants program. That's our collaboration with the museum. So what is the Descendants program? So it's going to be, it's really quite exciting. It's a collaborative genealogical online portal that our members and members that are NEHGS members, but also members who join the program through the Tea Party Ships and Museum are going to help build together. So they are asking, we are collectively asking for people to submit anything they have in their family papers about the Boston Tea Party. So they're asking for papers, documents, family trees, artifacts, any information, diaries, notes, your research into Boston Tea Party ancestors, so that they can make a giant portal, an online portal that's available to people who join the program. So really quite interesting, quite novel, quite exciting. And the reason to do this is to have all that information in one place and to catalyze interest in people who are interested in history, but also to see what kind of further genealogical connections that we can make to the people who participated in the Boston Tea Party. So this portal, when it's all finished, because it's in the beginning stage right now, it's going to have lesson plans on the Tea Party. It's going to have all kinds of articles and secondary resources. It's going to have oral histories, newsletters, and it's going to be this gigantic resource, not only for descendants of Tea Party ancestors, but for their families, researchers, writers, historians, teachers, and anyone who wants to know more about the Boston Tea Party. So let me swing over here for a second to the Boston Tea Party website. So if you come to the homepage, the URL is bostonteapartyship.com. If you scroll down on the homepage, you're going to see a prompt for the Boston Tea Party Descendants program. They even created a seal of an axe, chopping open the Tea Party chest. They actually have one of the original chests with a provenance attached to it. So that's really interesting to read about. And there's going to be a lot of coverage of this year. You can look at the Globe and other papers for that. So this is what I described just now about the collaborative portal. They are accepting applications to the program, and we at American Ancestors are doing the vetting for the Tea Party program. So you can apply in a number of different ways. There's different membership tiers. So you can apply as a descendant. I'm trying to find the information about the actual tiers. You can apply as though you're applying to a lineage society, and we will vet your descendancy through a line. You can also join as an eyewitness to history, and you can join as a co-conspirator. So there are different standards, and I'm not going to go into detail here, but for joining in each of these categories. So, for example, if you don't have a descendancy from a Boston Tea Party participant, but you still want access to the portal and you want to join, I think it's this category here. So it's $75 annually, and you're a co-conspirator, and you can get access to all the information. So. And I'm trying to see here. Yeah, you can have a lineage to somebody who lived. Oh, okay, so if you're an eyewitness to history, you have a documented lineage to someone who was living in Boston in 1773. So it's a bit of a looser requirement here, because lots of people can trace their family back to Boston in the late 18th century. And then this lineage member category is direct descendancy from a Tea Party participant. So, back to the database itself, it's really quite interesting to, peruse these images and read the information about each participant. So you can see here that we've researched their occupation, their marriages, their children, the date of their death. We've listed all the resources where we found that. There's sometimes a narrative about their life. So, if you're used to Helen Ullman's work or Robert Charles Anderson's work, you're going to see the same sort of approach here with a narrative sketch and all the information you could ever want to know. So the reason I mention this is to introduce it to those who don't know about it, but also to say that since March 24th, there have been 39 new biographies added. So there will be something around 200 when we're completely finished, which we hope to be by the end of this year. So you can check back for additional biographies as we add them. And I have a list of more biographies and more names that are going to be added in the coming months. And Kathleen can paste that list in the chat if the chat software allows that. So you can take a look at what's coming up. So moving on to some other databases. So if I come back to our search form, and I'm just going to back out of this, and let me just go here as a cheat, and I want to talk a little bit about early Vermont settlers. I can also go to, maybe an easier way to do it is just go to A to Z and search by Vermont. So early Vermont settlers, we have 22 new sketches. This is yet another database where you get a narrative on a family. And so this is Drew Bartley's work. So he's another hardworking researcher who is investigating all the people who settled in Vermont. So it's early Vermont settlers from 1700 to 1784. So this covers people who traveled north of the Massachusetts border on their migration out of southern New England. And it's heads of families who lived in Vermont prior to the Revolutionary War. So I can search really quickly, and I seem to be searching a lot of Smiths. So let me see if there's a Rollins in here. Nope, there's not. So let me stick with Smith, and I'll show you what the sketches here look like. Here we go. So I'll just click on one of these here and give it a second to load. So you can see here, again, we've got a biography, quite an in-depth biography of the head of the family and any other information that we know, and you can just page through this entire listing up at the top. So deep dives into these folks and very fascinating reading, even just if you're interested in history from this time period, which I most certainly am. So to come back into, let me go down to A to Z again. and do another search on Vermont. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me do a search on New England. So another database that we have added sketches to since the last webinar, What's New webinar. So we've added 2 new sketches to early New England families. So these are families living in New England from 1641 to 1700. And we have 2 new sketches. One is for the lives and descendants of Edward Jackson of Newton, Massachusetts, and John Putnam of Salem, Massachusetts. So this study project is led by Alicia Crane Williams. It highlights heads of families that are mentioned in Torrey's New England Marriages to 1700, one of our most popular databases, and completely unique to American ancestors. And so well, Torrey's focuses on individuals who were married between and in New England between 1641 and 1700, and it's grouped by the year of marriage. So you can find a good deal of family sketches in here in early New England. And again, if you're ever in doubt about what you can find, again, search down and you'll find a sample image, and then you'll see the description here. Okay, so let's move on, and I'll mention some upcoming databases that we have that should roll out over the next several months. And one of these we're very excited about. It's the Shaker Records of the Fruitlands Museum in Harvard, Massachusetts, which is a very interesting museum. If you're coming to Boston, I recommend it. This is going to be a brand new database, proprietary to us, with 5 volumes. And it's a collaboration with the trustees of reservations and the Fruitlands Museum of Harvard. So this database is going to include records of the highly researched Northern Massachusetts Shaker community between 1791 and 1908. And it will have records from the towns of Shirley, Ayer, I think that's right, Ayer, Ayer, Harvard, and surrounding towns. So again, 1791 to 1908. Another database my team's been working very hard on is the Old Stone Bank records. So this is a database with the location of Providence, Rhode Island, the Old Stone Bank in Providence, Rhode Island. It's the records from their holdings from 1854 to 1920. This will be another proprietary database for us, brand new, 29 new records. And that's in collaboration with the Rhode Island Historical Society. So that will have 29 volumes of signature books from the Old Stone Bank. And that bank operated from 1854 all right up until the 1990s. But 1920 is our cutoff date because of our sensitivity to living folks. So this project's going to pull hundreds of thousands of names. So the records will contain names, occupations, race, residence, and immediate family relationships for thousands, hundreds of thousands of early bank patrons. So again, Providence, Rhode Island, Old Stone Bank, 1854 to 1920, coming soon to our website. Okay, so I'm going to talk a bit about some nifty little search features we have. So we've added a new search feature, and let me just search on John Taylor. This is searching the whole database. So it's going to take a little bit to come up, but I want to show you. Oh, hang on. Let me actually go to A to Z search to show you this. So I want to show you this brand new feature that was introduced after March 24th, and that is the ability to search the A to Z database list by most recent. So if you don't use A to Z databases, which I've already done several times here, it's really useful. So this is what it sounds like. It's the alphabetical list of all our databases. And you can see the count of the databases here, 494 at present and increasing. So if you want to see really what I'm covering here in this webinar, you can sort by most recent. And you're going to see, I covered early Vermont settlers and these three here because we've added new volumes to them. So the criteria right now is a bit hypersensitive for what comes up first in this list, because it's also including anytime we touch the database description for these databases, it lists them as most recent. So we're fine tuning that a bit so that it really only, the criteria for coming first in the list is it's a brand new database, it has brand new volumes, or it has brand new records, because we think that's a bit more of an accurate reflection of the promise of what's most recent. So you can see here, if you come to the site fairly often, this can be a useful function for you. So the other thing that comes up that Kathleen just reminded me of that we have, and I wanted to talk about it here. Some people ask us, they say, well, you have 494 databases. Not all those databases are unique to you. That's true. But about half of them are. So people say, well, how do I know what's unique to American ancestors? Well, there's a little trick I can show you here. If you type AA unique in this database name search box right here, you're going to get 234 databases which are completely unique to American ancestors. So if you say, well, I have a subscription to Ancestry, I'm on Family Search all the time, I see databases repeated, I know that you guys do deals with them, everyone does deals with each other in a small industry. What do you have that's unique to you? Here's your cheat sheet to see that. So AA unique, and that will pull up that list. Okay, so let me move on to events. And I want to talk a bit about the events calendar. And then I want to show you some highlighted events that we think you might be interested in that are brand new or coming up. So if you've been with us a while, you know that we offer a great many free webinars. Our education department is remarkable. They are machines just turning out not only a lot of events, but very high quality events, very original topics, great speakers, and the events fall into lots and lots of different categories. So we've always offered free webinars, and those are typically like this one. They're 1 hour long deep dives into a specific topic. But we've expanded over the last 6 or 7 years into other types of events. Some are free, some cost money, some come with membership, some are a la carte, even if you have a membership here. So if you want to see what kind of events we have on offer, we've built this events calendar. So you can see I went to events, and then you can just click go to events. It takes a second to load. And there's some functionality here that you should take advantage of. You can see here, we've categorized the different event types. So there's author events, and these are typically American inspiration and other events that we host with best-selling New York Times best-selling authors and other folks, often about historical books they've written, biographies. We call it our family history adjacent programming. So we have a lot of people who are hardcore genealogists, but we have a lot of people who are interested not only in genealogy, but also in American history, history at large, culture, and other kinds of topics. So those events invite authors to come talk about books on those topics. We have our benefit dinners 4 times a year. Sometimes we have additional events that fall into that category. We have conferences like our stay at home and our getaways. We have heritage tours. which are led by a variety of people, but you may know Kurt DiCamillo's tours, where he takes people to exotic locales and tours of castles and English country homes. And those are also broadening in scope. We have lectures from genealogists and historians. We have research tours, seminars, and then we've recently added courses on demand. So if you click any of those categories, this calendar will filter by those categories. So you can also select a date. If you know you're going to be in Boston on a particular date, you want to, well, you can't do it this year, but you'll be able to do it in the future. But if you know you have an afternoon free and you want to see what's on our calendar, you can select a date and you'll see if there's anything playing on that date here that you can come see. If you want to restrict yourself to just free events, you can do that. Or if you want, it's going to take a second to show up here. Or if you want to look at online only events and not in-person events, you can filter using those two radio buttons. If you want to search by a particular topic, so I will put in Irish and see what comes up here. Oh, I think I've got to X out. Once you select something here, you have to, it'll retain that filter until you X out of it. So, I wanted to see what I'm interested in Irish genealogy. I want to see what people have here. And so if the description mentions Ireland or Irish somewhere, not necessarily here, but in its fuller description, you'll see it pop up here. So here you can see we have an on-demand course about the Ulster Scots coming up. So that's how our event calendar works. It's pretty robust. I want to point out that all of our webinars are archived in our video library. So if you really want to attend something, but you cannot because you've got another engagement, almost everything is archived, available for you to watch here. Now you have to be signed into the website. If you're not, you're going to hit a wall that's going to tell you to create an account. You do not have to be a paying member to watch videos, but you do have to have an account and you have to be logged in. So you can have a free guest account and you can log in. You can filter here, and here we want to kind of a step beyond and branded what these resources really are. It's a different way of looking at the same information. So we have our American Inspiration Author Series, family history research. If really all you're interested in is genealogy, that would be the category to select. If you want to look at fine art and architecture, you're going to see all the videos that have been done, because in addition to his actual tours, Kurt does these marvelous, engaging lectures for free. So, if you want a taste of that, but you don't want to pay the $20,000 fee to go abroad, you can just get a taste of it here by watching these for free, and they're really entertaining. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what is coming up. So let me go back to events and we'll look at upcoming events here. So I'll try to find these as I talk about them, but on June 14th, we have a 3-week, it's right here, 3-week online course on researching your impoverished ancestors in North America. So it can be a challenge to find information about, very economically disadvantaged folks. But our experts, Lindsay Fulton and Ann Lauthers, are going to take you through how to find that information. So they're going to look at welfare systems all the way from colonial times through the early 20th century and give you some tips and tricks for finding folks. If you want to learn more about that with all these pages, you can click in. You see the cost, you see the number of broadcasts here. So this will be multiple days that this course takes place over. And then you can see the actual class descriptions here, and then bios of who's giving um, the class now, and then you can register. And you note, if you're a member, you do save 10% on all the courses. Another few webinars on the 13th, this is June 13th, we'll have a free webinar on understanding calendar systems in family history research. This is a fascinating topic. Really being interested in the 18th century, and knowing that, the first time I encountered a gravestone with a slash through it, through the date, like June 17th slash 18th, I had a lot of questions about what that could possibly mean. So you're going to see this crop up on, certainly earlier records, how to interpret, record, and convert unfamiliar calendar and dating systems into familiar terms. So really, really interesting topic here, and that's going to be covered by, this is, or sorry, it's not the date of the month, it's the date of the year. And knowing that the new year used to be not celebrated till it wasn't January 1st, it was celebrated well into the calendar year as we think of it. So all those kinds of ins and outs of calendaring and dating. So Rhonda McClure is going to talk about that for an hour. And on June 20th, we will have one of our American Inspiration events featuring the author Jonathan Eig, and he has written a new biography about Martin Luther King Jr. So that should be fascinating too. So I think that's down here or further. Am I missing it? There it is. So with King, A Life, right around June 8th, Juneteenth. And that should be fascinating. And you can read more about him and information. He was certainly a very complex person. And so this is going to be the latest biography here from about Martin Luther King Jr. Okay, so there's another event that isn't taking place until November, but now is a great time to mark it on your calendar. So every November, we host our Salt Lake City research tour. So participants can join our genealogists for a week of research. This is serious research, directed research with archivists and genealogists who are helping you actually produce results. So it's not a tour of Salt Lake City. This is a group of serious genealogists sitting down in the family history library. You don't have to be advanced, but you do have to be committed to doing genealogy. So this will there'll be consultations available there with the genealogists, with the librarians, and it'll be a week together with this group researching. So it's a lot of fun too. You're with like-minded people who are serious about their hobby or their profession. And it's great to be able to learn from folks who care about what you care about. So I'm a bit long-winded this hour, so I'm gonna, but I'm just about at the end of what's new, and I'm gonna run through a few more things. If you want a little bit of fun, you can avail yourselves. Let me see if I still have it pulled up here. Well, there's two reasons to subscribe to DB News. If you don't know about American Ancestors Database News, you should. So I mentioned the Canadian headstones. I mentioned, early Vermont settlers, New England families, the Boston Tea Party sketches. If you want to know in real time when we are adding collections, volumes, anything to our database collection, just database related stuff, come to Database News. So it's dbnews.americanancestors.org. You have to subscribe. So enter your email address. This has nothing to do with your membership. So you can use a different email address if you want to, and just enter it here. This is totally free. Hit subscribe, and then you will be alerted in email when we add new information to the databases. So if you're waiting for a particular cemetery volume to be added, and you want to know in the moment when we add it, this is the way to find out. Another thing we do through database news, which a lot of people really enjoy, um, is our transcription challenge. So as we transcribe records, we do a lot of transcribing of handwriting, and we often come across impenetrable, indecipherable information that somebody has, some poor clerk who needed to go to lunch just kind of scribbled at the last minute. So we offer a challenge. Lots of people have a lot of fun with this. So you can just come to this transcription challenge and enter in your guesses. So you can enter in, we have 1, 2, and 3 things that we're trying to have transcribed right now, or trying to have people help us figure out. Um, and you can see other people's guesses here, so people really have a good time with this. It really gets quite extensive. So please, we announce who got it right. So please take part. It helps us decipher some of the harder aspects of these. And I just want to mention, I know you probably see it in your daily lives with your children, your grandchildren. No one under 30 can read cursive unless they're in this business, or unless they went to a religious school, particularly Catholic schools, still deal in cursive. No one else does. So it is a dying art form, and a dying skill set to know how to read scripted writing. Okay, and I will end by talking about the building closing. So I mentioned the Family History Research Library in Salt Lake City having a physical destination. Ancestry does not have a physical destination. My Heritage, Find My Past, no place you can go to research. It's us and it's Family Search. So, other than maybe tiny little places and of course public libraries. But as far as being a physical location completely dedicated to the study of genealogy, we, we can make that claim. Um, we have closed our building, and we are busily under construction now. So if you do come to Newberry Street, you'll see scaffolding all over 97 and 99. Those are the 2 buildings we own right at the top of Newberry Street. And we're transforming into a public discovery center that is going to be completely devoted to family history. It's going to have incredibly exciting exhibits all about family history, all aspects of family history. And it's really intended to catalyze the public's interest in genealogy, because we believe that everybody has some sort of potentially dormant interest in knowing who their family was, who their ancestors were. And a lot of people don't get into it until they retire. So even if we are able to get people there, show them how fascinating a hobby this can be, and even if they don't do anything until they hit 50 or 60 or 75, so be it. At least we've awakened that fascination. And certainly for members, you will see a renovated building. You can bring your family to this exhibit, and then you can go upstairs to the library just like you used to and engage in research. And I'm just going to stop there because I know that there's probably questions, and I want to give Kathleen a little time to talk.
Great. Yeah, thank you so much, Claire. So we have had a lot of great questions coming in that we can go ahead and get to. So let me see here. So first off, actually, while you still have your screen up and everything, we did have a request for you to show searching a name in just kind of search all databases, and then how to then refine that search once you see the results.
Sure. Okay, so the ubiquitous form for searching everything is here. So if you click on search and you go to search, that's where you're going to land. If you selected database, the search form is going to change because it only is going to display the fields that are indexed in that database. So for example, you're seeing, most of the fields here. If we didn't, for example, index family member names and you select a particular database and those are not indexed for that database, the field will drop off. So it doesn't give you a zero result because that's frustrating. So if you want to search, I'll go back to my John Taylor. So you can see, you've got 17, what's this number here? 177,508 records for John Taylor across 493 databases, which is quite a lot. So there's a number of ways you can refine this. So it's going to give you, if I had entered John Taylor, and then I had entered, date of birth, date of death, location. If I had really filled that form out, it would give me far fewer results, obviously. So I'm assuming that we're starting with just a name, and you may even be starting with just a last name, and that's tough because you're going to get a huge number of results. So depending on the criteria it's going to start assuming the broadest possible criteria. Now, I didn't put in any other criteria, but what this means is it's going to search on Taylor's. And if I scroll all the way down to, I won't do it now, but if I scroll all the way down to, the last few pages, the last few records, it's going to give me alternate spellings for Taylor, maybe Tailor and not what I entered. So if I want to make it more specific, I can start refining my results here. So that did lop off quite a few. So you can see I probably had different spellings of Taylor, maybe different spellings of John. Now I'm down to 144,160 records to go to search through. So there's that filter right there. You can also sort by relevance. You can sort by the database name. So if you entered in more criteria at the beginning, you can use these filters. So here's a useful one. So old to recent. So if I want the oldest possible John Taylor record here, well, actually, this is searching by the database, I think, and not the record. So you can use these filters over on the side to refine your results. You can also click into refine. So if you like the initial results you got, but now you want to refine it here rather than going back and starting a brand new search, and you want to refine it to 1780 to, let's see, 1790. Let's see, that might be too narrow, but let's see what we get. Yeah, so now I'm down to 4,197 records. So that's how I would go about refining results. It is to use all these filters on the left-hand side. You can also obviously filter and refine by the type of record. So if I know I'm looking for a probate record, now I'm down to 13 records for John Taylor. So I hope that goes toward answering that question a little bit.
Great. Thank you so much, Claire. Yeah, that was definitely a great demonstration of how to do that. So let's see, we have some more questions here. One person is wondering, you showed that database, the Canadian Cemetery database, and they were wondering how those images were accumulated for that database.
Well, you'd have to ask Canadian Headstones because they took those images and they're still on their website. But I suspect they have a cadre of volunteers that are going around photographing gravestones in all the cemeteries because I have attended many a dinner event where I've sat next to volunteers who've shown me their Flickr albums of all their gravestone images. And this is now something that I'm doing too, traipsing through gravestones and taking pictures. So that's where I think those probably come from. That's my suspicion.
Great, thank you. And then we have a question here from Wade, who's wondering if he can import a tree onto our site from Ancestry.
Yes, you can. So you need to download a GEDCOM file from your ancestry tree. I don't think they make it they don't want you to leave. So I don't think they particularly make it very easy. And if your tree is big, it takes a while. You need to like walk away from your computer and get a snack and come back because it can take quite a while. But there are instructions. If you go to ancestry.com and you look for the instructions on downloading a GEDCOM, that's the extension that you need. Then you can then upload that GEDCOM to American Ancestries.
Great, perfect. So then we had a question here from Janine. So maybe you could review the qualifications required to join the Boston Tea Party Lineage Society that you referenced. She was wondering if it would include all the descendants of Aboriginal nations living in Boston and the outlying areas. So maybe we could review those categories.
So I'm going to go out on a limb without knowing exactly the answer, whether that's yes or no. I'm going to say that yes, that would belong in the eyewitness to history category. So the lineage, here I am on the Boston Tea Party site. So the lineage member category, the way we define this is anyone who is a descendant with the documented lineage to the Boston Tea Party participants, the Loyal Nine, the Boston Sons of Liberty, the North End Caucus, St. Andrew's Lodge, Shipguard Volunteers, and signers of the November 1773 petitions to town selectmen. So, this is by and large white men who participated in, I think that's all it is, who participated on those two ships or were guarding the warehouses or were in the taverns meeting and plotting this event. The but we obviously we recognize many other people, men, women, other groups contributed to the American Revolution. Really, it was everybody had a role of some kind in it, and that's the eyewitness to history category. So this field is descendants with documented lineages to the following groups: inhabitants of Boston in 1773 and eyewitnesses to history. But even if the background use site is not explicitly called out here, I can't imagine they would deny you entry to the eyewitness to history category, because that certainly sounds like an eyewitness to history. And then co-conspirators is just really for researchers and educators or anyone who has a general interest.
Great. All right. So then we have a question. I believe this came through when you were talking about our early New England families project. And this person's wondering if we'll research Rutland County families. I don't know if you'd know that off the top of your head, but maybe you know where they could ask or.
If you want to write, that's a great question. Don't know it off the top of my head. It seems likely we would, but if you want to write to webmaster@nehgs.org, I can get you an answer to that question quickly.
And I'll put that address in the chat so everyone has that. All right. And then we have a popular question here. I know we've been getting this a lot. Someone's wondering if we have a projected opening date for our
I knew,
building after
I knew
construction.
somebody would ask me. Right now 97 is really a giant hole. So projecting out, there's a great deal that has to be done to open up a new public discovery center, as you can imagine. And I know a lot of people are eager to get back online. I will say that anything that you can do in the building, we're going to help you do online. So you don't have to wait till next year to get access to a book or access to a record. just call membership or chat with membership, tell them what you need, and they will help you. So don't let our closure be any barrier to your research. Um, but a direct answer to that question is we are currently targeted for late summer 2024. Um, that anything could happen. You know, it's an old city. We're digging into the ground. We're building up. There's a whole lot of new specifications that you have to meet nowadays for building materials and for sustainability. So it's a day by day process. So far, it's gone very, very smoothly. So fingers crossed. We want to be open. Let's say late summer 2024.
Great. Sounds good. And I'm seeing we're a little bit in overtime, so I think we have time for just about one more question. And we did get a couple of questions in about our research for hire. Maybe you can explain how you get started with research for hire, just a little bit about that.
Sure. I'd be delighted if people use this section of the website because we spent a whole lot of time building it, and give me feedback. And for those questions that we won't get to, webmaster at NEHGS, that address that Kathleen's pasted in, please write to us. That's my team. I'll make sure your questions get answered. So please, even if you didn't ask a question here and you have a question or you want to make a recommendation, please do, and we'll get back to you. So which service is right for you? I'll just go quickly through it. One of the questions we sometimes get is live chat. Is it free? People assume it's not free because it's so high value. It is free. So please take advantage of it. You can ask a genealogist a whole bunch of questions. Well, for 15 minutes, you get to bend the ear of a genealogist and ask them, where do I find this information? I'm stuck here. I've got a brick wall here. Where would you point me? And you know, they'll answer beginner questions, intermediate, advanced. They won't stay on the phone for 3 hours. For that, you do need to hire somebody. But I just want to point that out, that that's a great resource. So we've chopped up our services into a number of different categories, and you can see that here. So I went to expert help. What service is right for you? So I would suggest starting here. So you can hire a personal genealogist for the day. Now, when the building reopens, you can come in and literally sit next to one of the genealogists. For now, if you avail yourself of the service, you can do it over the phone, you can do it over Zoom. And it's what it sounds like. For a whole day, they sit with you and research side by side. So your problems become their problems, and they are helping you understand what resources to use and you know, to make real progress during that 8-hour period. Hire a researcher is a little more complicated, but we built a guide that takes you through it. So here's the research services team. You know, there's about 30 folks here with various specialties, and we would match you with the person who has the background that's going to help you. So you can either, if you already know exactly what you want to do, you definitely want to hire somebody, you can click on this button here. But if you want to learn a little bit more about what specifically they can do for you, because it's, you know, it's not inexpensive, I'll say. It's not inexpensive with us. It's not inexpensive with Pro Genealogy or other groups. But you can get a tremendous amount out of it. So this is what they can specifically help with. We typically do an assessment. So you would pay a certain fee. We assess how much time it's going to take to complete your research task. And then we give you that final estimate. So if I'm going to just go here really quick. So the cost is $840 for the assessment. So you have to understand this is like inviting a plumber in and saying, I want you to spend 24 hours investigating what's wrong with my house and then fix it. So the 24 hours while they're poking around, you're actually getting the value of that time. So that's why the cost for the assessment. If they're not just glancing at it and charging you that money, they're actually diving in and really,
Um,
yep,
oh, sorry. I was just going to say we do also have a member discount as well,
yes,
which I'm blanking on the amount off the top of my head, but it does bring that down into the 700 somewhere. So
yeah, a little bit cheaper, yeah.
yeah.
And I will say we are cheaper than, the other large companies that do this. But I want to stress the fact that an assessment is not something that's done rapidly. So they really have to get in under the hood and investigate what you're sending them. So you can fill out this form here and get the assessment, and then they will come back to you and say, okay, here's what we found, and then here's what it's going to take to keep going. So that's essentially how it works. You get frequent communication throughout that process, and then they deliver a report at the end with all the documentation and a narration of their results, a summary of all their results.
All right, great. Well, I think we will go ahead and leave it there for today. I'm just going to pop up the PowerPoint. All right. So yes, thank you everyone to submitted questions today. As Claire mentioned, if you do have any further questions, you're welcome to email the webmaster email address that I put in the chat. You can also email our education team at education@nehgs.org. We have lots of options for contacting us. You can also chat with our member services team using the chat window on our homepage of the website. That's a great option as well. It's great for asking questions about your membership or kind of basic questions about searching the site. If you do have more specific questions about your family history research, you might consider scheduling a consultation or hiring our research services team, as Claire has just gone over. You can also chat with our genealogists for free online Tuesday through Saturday from 9 to 5 Eastern Time, with extended hours on Wednesday evenings from 9 to 8 p.m. I know Claire has mentioned this service today, and it really is great. As she mentioned, it is free, and our genealogists are happy to help with any area of your family history, so definitely check that out. Thank you again for joining us. You will have the opportunity to fill out a survey and give us your feedback on today's webinar. As Claire mentioned, we would love to hear your feedback if you have thoughts on things that you want to hear in future sessions from this series. We do this series quarterly. If you have thoughts on demonstrations you want to see or certain events you want to hear more about, do let us know and we're happy to incorporate that next time. This free webinar was made possible by the generous support of our members and friends around the world. Please consider making a gift to American ancestors to help keep these programs free and to create more. If you'd like to access more how-to resources or learn about upcoming online educational programs, please visit our online learning center at americanancestors.org/education. Thank you all again, and I hope to see you at our online programs in the future. Goodbye for now.